Hello, welcome to the Let's Talk Kids Health live show, episode 65. I'm Dr. Nerissa Bauer, your host. I'm a behavioral pediatrician and CEO of Let's Talk Kids Health. As you know, the concept of the show is to share information about behavioral health, parenting, and family wellness. Each week, I bring you topics and guests to help me advance this mission so that we can all talk together. Now, please let us know you're here by commenting, asking questions, and liking at any time. And in a little bit, your questions will be asked of my guest. Now, the replay will be immediately be available after the broadcast. We're also going to be rebroadcasting each episode every Thursday night at 8 p.m. So please share this episode with anyone you think who would benefit. Now, if you don't want to miss future episodes or maybe check out the past ones, subscribe to my YouTube channel, NerissaBauerMD, follow my blog Facebook page, Let's Talk Kids Health, and join my free parenting discussion group. Now, today's topic is all about coping skills for kids with Janine Halloran. Janine Halloran is a licensed mental health counselor who has been working with children, teens, and their families for 20 years. She's been helping children and teens build their coping skills throughout her career in a variety of settings, including schools, mental health clinics, and in her private practice. She's also the author of several books, including the best-selling Coping Skills for Kids workbook and the Coping Skills for Teen workbook. Hello, I have a copy. Um, her work has been featured in the Boston Globe, CNN, Huffington Post, and the Skim newsletter. Janine lives in Massachusetts with her husband and her two children. Welcome to the show, Janine.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh my goodness. I just have to tell this story that when I first came across you and your Instagram account, which by the way, you need to go follow, Coping Skills for Kids, I was so excited because you were talking my speak, and you just got it. It was so practical and relevant. So I'm so excited about our conversation today, especially because as I do as a behavioral pediatrician, I know that you've been seeing a lot of kids with behavioral issues, mental health issues, and just needing to provide parenting support. So I'm really excited to talk with you about coping skills for kids. So, to just kick us off, why don't we just start there so that way we know what coping skills are and why do kids need them? I'd love to hear your take on this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, one of the things is when I first started talking and working, I wanted to, you're working with kids and you're trying to figure out what strategies are going to work for them. And really, when it comes down to our coping skills are ways that kids can deal with big feelings, big emotions, challenging situations. That's basically what it is. So whatever is going to help them be able to deal with having big feelings, having, feeling frustrated, feeling mad, feeling sad, dealing with the death of a grandparent or dealing with the loss of a pet, dealing with challenges at school, dealing with all sorts of things that can come up in a kid's life. And the truth is, kids are going to experience any emotion. They're human. So they're going to get mad. They're going to get frustrated. They're going to get sad. They're going to get anxious, right? But we need to help them figure out what are those strategies that are going to help them manage it. And the other thing I think about when it comes to coping skills is safe and healthy. So I want them to choose things that are safe and I want them to choose things that are healthy, because if you get mad at your brother and you punch him, that's a coping skill, but it's not healthy and it's not safe.
Right, right. It's not healthy and it's not safe.
Right. So what are the things that you can do when you get frustrated with your brother instead? Being able to talk through it, being able to go and scribble it out. Things that you can do that can make you feel better, help you cope with it, and help you be able to move on and do the next thing that you need to do in your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that sort of lens because as you said, we're all human. We experience all these emotions. That's what that's what the human experience is. But the one thing that I always noticed in your podcast and all these different things that you post on social media is that you have a way of looking at it and tackling it so you empower kids. It's not like parents doing this for kids. It's you empower them. I Can you talk a little bit about, some simple ways that we can help our kids identify, their big feelings and then use those skills because so often, Janine, I will tell you, parents will say to me, Dr. Bauer, my kid knows what he has to do. I mean, I just know he does because when I tell him after the fact, he can tell me what he needs to do. But in the moment, it just goes out the window. Like, how can we help parents and kids get that connection in the moment?
Yeah, you know what? It's really tricky. That is why I do the work that I do, and it's been something that I've seen throughout my career from the first day I work until like last week when I saw a kid.
Yes.
It is what it is. We all struggle with being able to manage in the moment when we are having a difficult time at times. Now, it's more likely that it's going to happen as kids because they don't have as much practice at it. So, and I think one of the things is to make sure that you're giving yourself grace and giving kids grace when they haven't figured it out yet. It's okay that they haven't figured it out. I always look at it in tiny baby steps. Like, let's try and figure out what that strategy is that you're going to use. And then maybe we make a visual for it. Maybe we keep it on the refrigerator. I've had families do that. Maybe we have it in a calm down space so that we keep the strategies or whatever you need to access the strategies in a place that's ready to go, so you are more likely to use it when you are in that place. But it is okay if they don't get it right the first time, because who really does all the time?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, what you're alluding to is, there's some prep work to this.
Yes.
And you're also describing a lot of what I hear classrooms are doing now too, providing calm down space, tools, strategies in that space so that they're accessible.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things that I like to do with all of my clients and my own children and myself is I like to use a coping skills checklist where I just go through and I identify the strategies that kids have already. So it's a ready to go checklist. It's free on my website, so they can check off the things that work for them, cross off the things that don't, and circle the things they want to try. And so when kids are having a hard time,
Hmm.
to be able to look at those things that are checked off, to be able to say, when I feel frustrated, these are some things I can do. And if I want to add to my repertoire, because sometimes there's not only a few, sometimes the kids have, you want to practice when they're calm. And you
Hmm.
want to have, there's a lot of prep work, as you said. Like, there's a lot of laying the groundwork when things are calm, when things are quiet, when everybody's in good space to have these conversations, to go through the checklist, to figure out what those strategies are, to make the visuals so that you can have them, to get the calm down space ready so that when that moment happens, you're ready to go. And then after that moment happens, because it's going to happen,
Yes.
um, let's be real, it's going to happen. That's the whole point, right? So then afterwards, debrief about it. So when everything is calmer again, what went well? What could we do differently the next time? What felt good for you? What didn't work? Those sorts of things. So then you can make a plan for the next time. So maybe it didn't work on the refrigerator. Maybe it needs to be in your room versus the refrigerator. Maybe the calm down space isn't in a great spot because there's a lot of traffic. So
Hmm.
we need to move it to a different spot. So it's a lot of we're going to try it, we're going to tweak it, we're going to try again.
Hmm. So, can I just ask you a question about this? Because your discussion is so resonating with me, and some of the discussion that I just had with my Teach Me ADHD class last night, where we actually cover this in Training Mission 3, which was yesterday, emotion without commotion. And everything that you said is really great. But what if, let's say, you have a family who, in the moment, the parent themselves get dysregulated and they have a hard time sort of approaching that child to do a debrief in a certain way. I mean, do you have any words of wisdom for parents too?
Yeah, absolutely. So this has been one of the biggest eye openers as a parent myself,
Yes.
is to keep your calm. Because you want to, the way think about it, I heard this once on a podcast from this lovely play therapist. You want to be the thermostat, not the thermometer. You want to set the tone in the house. You don't want to go up and down with the temperature. You want to set it. And
Oh,
I know, right? Isn't that
say
good?
that again. Say that again. You want to be the thermostat and not the
Not the
thermometer.
thermometer. You
I
want
love
to
that.
set the
If
tone.
if you love that, you're watching this live, please comment and say, "Yes, I love that. I'm gonna use that next time."
Yep. And honestly, because when you have toddlers, when you have preschoolers, and they are like developmentally, it is appropriate for them to tantrum. It is appropriate for them to say no. They are
Mhm.
figuring out their brains are growing. It makes complete sense. It doesn't mean it's not frustrating and overwhelming and like irritating as a
Yes.
parent to deal with
Yes.
that and to own that, to recognize like this makes me mad. I don't like this. Right? But
Yes.
but then to be able to say, I'm setting the tone. I'm going to set the tone of the house. I'm going to keep myself calm. I'm going to take my own breaths. I'm going to go and get a drink of water. I'm going to go to the bathroom, maybe by myself, and
Mhm.
close the door for a second. Like that's the sort of thing that as a parent, you need, and I'm going to tap out. My husband and I would tap out. Yeah,
Yeah.
like all the like I'd be like, I am here, so I'm going to need you to step in here, and I will be back in a few minutes.
Yeah.
And then and that's what helped me. You know what it
Yes.
to know that it's okay for us as the grown-ups to have emotions too. Things are can be very triggering from our own childhood. There's nothing like being a parent to identify where you still need help in therapy.
Yes, yes. Well, we have somebody who said, "I do love the thermostat, not the thermometer." And then somebody else said, "I'm going to say it to myself in the moment. I'm the thermostat."
Yes, go ahead, do it. And so when it comes down to it, we as grown-ups need coping skills too. We need to
Yes.
figure out what strategies are going to work for us, what helps us relax, what helps us recharge, what helps us get our energy back, because parenting, especially now, is extremely it's challenging no matter what, but like
Mhm.
living in the way we've lived the last 2 years, we're all depleted. We're all depleted. So we really need to be paying attention and refocusing, recharging, re-energizing ourselves.
Yeah. Um, so I want to get back a little bit to what you had said when we were talking about the simple ways we can help kids identify and use coping skills. You mentioned like a checklist, a visual checklist, putting things where they are. Do you find that there are certain tips or techniques that are more relevant for toddlers, preschoolers versus school age, or even tweens or teens?
So I find that it's similar sorts of strategies, just aged differently. So I'll give you an example. Deep breathing. I think deep breathing. People always say take a deep breath. It sounds hokey, but it actually does work. My
Hmm.
friend Katie Hurley, who is like an amazing therapist, she talks about taking a slow breath
Hmm.
because that can help with kids being able to, instead of trying to do that like hyperventilating thing they do when you say take a deep breath, they actually like slow their breath down. The whole point of that is it helps kids get out of that fight or flight and get back down to like a more calm rest and digest sort of situation.
Hmm.
But for toddlers, I would recommend deep breathing for everybody, right? But for toddlers and preschoolers, I like using stuffed animals. So having them lay on their back and put their stuffed animal on their belly and move the stuffed animal up and down, right?
Hmm.
So very kid friendly, very easy for a little one to do. For elementary school kids, I like to have them trace a shape. So like
Hmm.
they can trace a triangle. So like breathe in for 3, hold for 3, breathe out for 3. Being able to do a simple strategy like that. For my tween and teen clients, I use GIFs. I use memes sometimes. So there's,
Oh.
oh yeah, there's like deep breathing, like GIFs that will like expand, and you breathe in and expand, breathe out, and when it decreases, when it shrinks. And I've used that with a bunch of my kids. So my teen clients. So what I do is, I'll show them a few different ones. Which one do you like? I will text it to your phone. So you are using a deep breathing strategy, but you're also on your phone so you don't look weird and nobody knows what you're doing,
Yes.
because they
Yeah.
always want like a secret sort of coping strategy.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. So you adapt it based on age, make it relevant, make it practical and useful, but it's
Yeah.
still the same technique.
Yes. And so a lot of, deep breathing is really fantastic. I try to start with that with all of my clients,
Mhm.
but you do have to sort of like find the way that works for the client. So I talk through a lot of different strategies for deep breathing. What's relaxation for different people? Some kids really dig mindfulness, other kids don't. Other kids really like, paying attention to the colors in the room. That's something that they prefer to do. Other kids like to relax their body in different ways. So like a progressive muscle relaxation where you're squeezing and releasing the muscles in your body
Yep.
just to get yourself in a calmer spot. So the coping skills for kids and coping skills for teens workbooks are like, they have a lot of the same strategies, but teens is way more like it's written to them. I like wrote it like I was writing to a client.
Mhm.
And because I was like, when I was writing it, I was thinking about my
I mean,
teen
look at
clients. And yeah. Yeah.
mhm,
So that's like tracing a pattern.
mhm.
So it can be like, that's a way that you can relax yourself. And it's cool. It's
Yeah.
like, it's different. And it's not like, I'm not going to tell my like 15-year-old client to lie down with a stuffy. Like, they're just not going to do it.
Yeah. I mean, and then like do a body scan, but you have the script here.
Yep.
So I mean, I brought this along because I was like, I have this book and it's so awesome. But yeah, exactly that. Getting back to what I said initially, what drew me to you, Janine, is just how practical you are and the way you empower kids to take this on.
Yeah.
I think that's a stance we need to take as parents when we're coaching them through it, so that way it's just one less trigger for them to be like, no, I'm not, like digging their heels in, right?
Right, exactly. So my whole point in whenever I'm working with a child or whenever I'm working with, I'm writing, I
Hmm.
want kids to be able to take this in for themselves. I don't want to have to always do this. I want them to grow up and be able to do it on their own.
Yep.
And when a kid says to me, "I found a new strategy," I'm like, "Go for it. I love it. Tell me about it." Because
Yeah.
I want to hear like what helped you, what worked for you. And if that works for you, please do it. If that's going to keep you calm in the classroom, go for it. Do
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
please.
And what you just said there is a really great sort of tact for parents. Like, be curious about it. Talk with your kids regularly about like, oh, well, what did you try, this week? What worked for you? What didn't? Tell me about it. Or what did you discover? And you can share the same too, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I will tell my kids like, I'm going for a walk. I'm really overwhelmed. I can't really do this right now. Like I feel like I'm at my wit's end with my email inbox, and so I'm just going to like go and take a walk. So I will literally like script that out for my kids so they hear me do it. And I will say, like, my daughter has definitely like imprinted this, because there were times, especially at the beginning of COVID, she was like, "Mommy, I think you are working too hard and need to take a break." And I was like, wow, out of the mouths of babes. And you're right.
Yeah.
And you're right. I do need to take a break. She's like, "Let's play video games." And I was like, okay.
Oh, well, it's so important because I think it's one thing for us to think it in our head and do it, but when we have kids, that role modeling piece and saying it out loud is such a teachable moment for them. They're always listening.
Yep.
They're always looking at us. And then when your child repeats back or picks up on it and you're like, oh, they were, they were
Mhm.
listening,
They're watching and
Yeah.
listening and paying attention to everything. And there's, I think it makes them also understand that you're human too, and you have bad days and you have good days, and you're excited and you get sad and you get mad and you get happy, but you
Yeah.
learn how to manage it in all these different ways. I'm frustrated. This is what I'm going to do right now. I
Yep.
can't, this traffic is driving me bananas.
Yes. Yes, I love it. I have a question here from a viewer. How can we find those deep breathing gifs and memes?
So I like using De-Stress Monday. Uh,
De-stress Monday. What is this?
So it is a website.
Hmm.
And so I don't even know how I found them, but they have like if you search up De-Stress Monday, they have all these different gifts that are like gorgeous, like
Hmm.
gorgeous. And then I've made my own, like you can just make you can make one on I used Canva, and I made one where you expand and contract the circle. Like they
Huh.
had some actual like some videos in there that I was like, that's a deep breathing one. I can use that.
Yes. Yes.
And then I just send my kids funny memes about deep breathing. So, like our entire like family chat is all memes. Like that's all.
Yes.
It's just to like to make it silly to be like, let's try this. Let's
Uh,
like.
okay. So for those of the viewers who might not know what gifs and memes are, what can you tell? Like, please shed some light on this.
Oh gosh, I wish my
Like,
daughter was here. She's not coming home from school for another 20 minutes.
I'm sorry.
Um, so gifts, I would say like they're short videos.
Uh
So
huh.
they're really like short clips of videos, where they or short clips of like an animation where you see something. Whereas a meme is like a picture, and then sometimes they put like images, or like they put words over it, and so there's like meme templates that everybody uses. So you
Yep.
like there's the one with like the dog that's on fire, which I feel like is sometimes my life. And so like and and you could put like different words over it. So
Uh-huh.
like I like using that as a way to start the conversation about deep breathing, and then to
Yeah.
use, yeah. And honestly, like it's really interesting because then sometimes my kids will be like, "This is how I'm feeling right now." Click, and then you get an understanding of like what's going on for them.
Yeah.
There's even like a great game. What do you meme?
Uh-huh. Yes.
Oh my gosh, we love that as a family. Never. Oh my gosh, so funny. Sometimes we laugh so hard playing that game. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and plus laughter is a good medicine. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good for the soul. So
Yeah.
De-stress Monday. I'm
Yeah.
putting it right there. So if
Yeah.
people can, who are watching this in replay or, later, will be able to access that. I also use something like, I use this,
Yes,
Oh,
I love the Hoberman sphere. Yeah,
uh-huh.
yeah,
It's a great visual. And,
yeah.
the Apple Watch has that also there too, right?
Yeah, so I when I give a presentation to teachers about different strategies they can use, I tell them about one of my clients who deals with anxiety and would always
Mhm.
get anxious before presentations. And so because we live in Massachusetts and it's always cold, she always has her sweater on, right? So she can start a deep breathing thing and put her sweater over her wrist so nobody knows what's going on.
Uh-huh.
And she can relax before she gives the presentation. That helped her get through junior year, man.
Wow. Yeah, because again, our teens, tweens, they especially kids with anxiety, they don't want to necessarily show it to people that they're doing these
Yes.
things, right? So,
Yes.
how did you arrive to that though? Like, I'm curious, like, how do you, like, when you're working with a client, and again, just kind of ideas for parents, like, let's say you get your book and you're like going through these different strategies and trying to figure out what you like, what you don't like. Like, how do you then help them figure out how to then implement it on the fly?
Yeah. So what I do is I kind of try and help them come up with like a top 3 or top 5 strategies that they like
Mhm.
the ones that are really go to, your ones that you love, the ones that always tend to seem to work for it in certain situations.
Mhm.
And then I either have them like physically like write out like what the strategies are, so that like I love visuals. So anytime I can use a visual with a kid,
Yep.
I will do it. Especially for my preschoolers, my toddlers, my elementary school kids. I will always use a visual. So I have some cards, but
Yep.
you can make your own.
Mhm.
And that's kind of fun. Like you can have the kid like do the strategy and take a picture of it. I've actually also done videos with some of my clients where I videoed them doing the strategy, and then I sent the family the video so they can watch themselves do the strategy. And so it was like really reinforcing for them, like, oh yes, when I feel this way, I can take a drink of water, I can pet the dog, I can do this.
Mhm.
So lots of ways that you can reinforce visually as much as possible, or in a written like in a written form. So sometimes my teenagers have post-it notes on their wall, on their mirrors, of the
Mhm.
strategies that they like to use, or actually like having the physical thing. So I had one client who liked having like a worry stone,
Mhm.
tiny little worry stone in her pocket, and so she just like shoot it out. It went with her every day to high school, put it in her pocket.
Mhm. Yeah, I love it. And again, you mentioned your books, workbooks. I also have your card deck, but I don't have it like within reaching distance here.
I don't either.
But your store, please let us know about where people can go for these awesome things that
Yeah.
you have.
So if people want to visit store.copingskillsforkids.com,
Hmm.
that's where all my books live, my activity books, my card decks. A lot of free things are on there too. I have like a whole section for like free stuff where people can download, including the coping skills checklist and deep breathing printables that are like ready to use. You can take them, you can use them with your family, you can use them with your clients, whatever you want to do. So
Hmm. I love it. I love it. So make sure go to copingskillsforkids.com. Or put store in before that, and it'll
mhm.
lead you right to the store. And then Janine is very active on Instagram. As I said, her handle is Coping Skills for Kids. So make sure you follow her and look for all of the great stuff that she has on there. I do have one additional question, I suppose,
Yeah,
if this is okay.
yeah.
But I think the I, I guess let's to like I think a lot of people who are watching right now are like, okay, yeah, I get the coping skills, and I love the idea of using gifs and memes to start that conversation. But like, can I ask you, like, for other tips and strategies for kids who seem resistant, or uh, I don't know, or working with specific kids who maybe like they try it and they give up right away?
Mhm.
Like, do you have any pointers for families around those sticky points?
So what I like to try and do with those kids, because we like kids don't always want to do the things that we're suggesting, even if they're really good suggestions. They just
Mhm,
don't want to. That's
mhm.
okay. That is expected and developmentally appropriate and a little bit frustrating. Um, so so what I like to do is I actually like to do strategies with my kids. I like to do them with my teens. I like to do them with my clients. So when I do, for instance, mindfulness,
Mhm.
and I did this actually remotely and in person with my clients. When I do mindfulness, we sit down together and we do mindfulness together. I don't make a kid do mindfulness without me because that's weird. Like I'm sitting there and I'm watching you be mindful, but I'm like watching you. It's weird. So like we're gonna be mindful together. So we're gonna take a bite of our chocolate together and we're gonna talk about it. Like, do we like that? Do we not? And like there was one kid who was in one chocolate, I would say actually, that we were both like, no, that was actually terrible. We'll never do that again. And then other ones,
Really? There's terrible chocolate out
if you
there?
if you eat it mindfully, sometimes chocolate isn't so great. So, like, it depends on the brand.
Yes.
Like, I have found that, and I'm like, "Oh gosh." And so now I only, like, use, like, higher quality chocolate, and then I'm
Mhm.
like, Mindfully eating this is phenomenal." So, I try to do that with them. I try to do the strategies with them, and I try not to, like, I try to keep it as, like, super simple as possible, like, not trying to make a big deal out of it. I'm like, let's talk about coping skills and we're going to try them today. Like nobody wants to do that.
Yeah.
So I actually just say the skill, like, let's try doing mindfulness. Let's try a progressive muscle relaxation together. Let's go on a walk together. And then on the walk, we can talk about how it feels to be out on the walk, or we can talk when we get back. Like, how did that make you feel? Like, how do you feel now? Like, better, worse, the same, like that kind of thing, just to get a gauge of it.
Mhm.
And the other thing I would say for families also is just to start having conversations about feelings in general, because you can't deal with it unless you name it. Like you got to name it to tame it. Dr.
Yep.
Dan Siegel, Tina Payne Bryson,
Yep.
their amazing work. And so to start that conversation about feelings in general, yours and theirs, makes it easier than to say, okay, so if you're feeling frustrated, I wonder what we could do. Maybe I know, we've been talking with you, we've been talking a lot about you being like sad or anxious recently. I'm wondering if we could try this and see if how it works and see if
Mhm.
it makes a difference.
Mhm.
And to like not give up. Like it's okay if they don't do it the first time or the second time or the third time, like to not give up, just keep trying at different times. And you can ask them, like, is there a time that would work better for you? Is it like,
Mm.
would it be like before bedtime? Would it be, right after school? What, like after a snack? Maybe you're hangry when you get home and you don't want to talk to anybody until you've had a cheese stick. I get
Mhm.
it. Like,
Yeah.
like and especially if they're older, because a lot of times I find like little kids are more interested, bigger kids are a little bit more resistant. If you invite them into the conversation, again, empowering them,
Yeah.
what, what do you think might be helpful? What do you think might, you could try? And if they're really resistant, I try to go with the fun stuff, like mindfulness with chocolate. Like, yeah, okay.
I love it. I love it. And I hope you guys who are watching love these little tips and practical strategies. I mean, these are these are hard things to do in the moment, especially if you've got a kid who like just immediately anything you say just sets them off.
Yep.
Um and then you can get frustrated too. So I think, you know, it's what I'm hearing you say, Janine, is it's all about sort of the prep work, but the communication that happens, the debrief is really important. And just, getting curious about it,
Yep.
inviting that curiosity and not sort of saying, okay, now you've done this again. We've got to sit down. Janine said we need to do, like, no, we don't do that.
Right.
because it'll just set that tone. Remember, we want to be the thermostat. So I love all these strategies. Now, if you guys have any questions, please put them in because we are running low on time. But I do hope that today's conversation was helpful. As always, I have fun talking to you, Janine. I'm like, I've got to have her on the show. So, but yeah, I think hopefully that people watching today sort of got some practical strategies that, to run the whole gamut. I guess I'll ask one more question if I don't see another one is, so when you said 3 to 5, you like kids to have at least 3 to 5 go to. Do you find that like coping strategies change based on the emotion?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
and how to help them through
Oh,
that.
yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. So I always say, coping strategies change depending on like what you're feeling, where you are, and like, the type of person that you are. So like if I have my own children, one of them really loves like relaxation. I mean, oh my goodness, she could do it all day. Like she loves it. My son, he's a mover and a shaker. So he wants to run, he wants to jump, he wants to swing, he wants to get like he's a sensory kid too, so you like really strong hugs and that kind
Mm,
of thing. So to understand your personality and the kind of style that you like, but then to also understand like what is going to work at school, and if you're really struggling at school, to really dig in and find like 3 to 5 strategies you can use in the school day that maybe nobody else can see, or what are the things that you can do that are going to be really most helpful for you
right.
at school versus at home where you have a little bit more flexibility in terms of what you can do.
I love it. We have a comment here. Great show. Looking forward to ordering those materials for
Oh,
teens. Yes, yes, you must go do that. Like Janine said, she has so many things on her store. I mean, she has been doing this for years. Like that was the one thing I asked her when I met her for the first time. Like, okay, tell me, like, how do you get all this stuff done? Because it's amazing. And you're
yes,
like,
it
I've been
does.
doing this for like a long time.
Yeah. Like when my first store came on, it was like one little thing, and I was like, "Well, that's what I have, and I want to get it into the world, so here we are."
Yes. Yeah. Well, so I do hope those watching have really enjoyed this discussion. Oh, look, somebody said I already downloaded the
Oh
free
yes,
principles. Yes.
yay!
Yes.
Enjoy.
Yeah. I mean, and you mentioned there it's helpful not just for the parents and kids, but the educators, other therapists, right?
Oh yeah. I
Hmm.
A lot of people, a lot of counselors, a lot of therapists, a lot of teachers come and use the materials, even just the free stuff. They just take it and you're allowed to use it with any client you have, which is, something as a former school counselor, like I was always looking for like I need something for my whole class or my whole school. Because like
Yes.
if I have a school of 400, like that's a lot of kids and that's a lot of like how do I make that work? And so I've always said like it was one of the things that I really wanted to do. Like if you get my work and you work in a school, any kid you see any year, you can use it. It does not matter,
Mm-hmm.
because I want you to be able to use it and take it and find it helpful. So I'm excited when people come up and tell me that and share that
Yes.
with me. Like,
Yes.
yay, I'm so glad it's working.
Yeah, well, let's challenge people today. So, the people who are watching this either on live or replay, if you go to Janine's website, download anything or purchase anything, please take a picture, please report back, put it on social media, tag both Let's Talk Kids Health and Coping Skills for Kids so we can shout you out and say, awesome job. And, just get the word out because I think these practical strategies and the work that you do is so valuable, not just for kids, but for adults too, right?
Yep. Yep.
And I really hope that more people will just be so excited to just download all the free stuff. I mean, even if you don't order stuff, I mean, all the free stuff there is amazing.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
any other things that you want to share with our listeners or watchers about any materials, any upcoming things that you have going, anything like that?
Gosh, I have so many things that I have like sort of my I have lots of like spinning plates that are going on. I will say one thing that I have, it's on my heart to write, is coping skills for adults, because
Mm,
I just can't get, it's like one of those things I can't get it off of my mind. And that's what happened with coping skills for kids and teens. So I was like, well, I think that's happening. So, my thing is about that, especially right now, is I want people to make sure that they are taking care of themselves, that they are taking a moment to refill themselves, to have fun, to do
mhm.
something they love, to get that energy back that they need to be able to walk into the world and walk into their day and do the hard stuff that they have to do.
I love it. And if you do write that book, you're coming back on the show. We're going to be talking about that because I think all of us need it. So
Yeah.
please write it.
Yeah.
And I will be one of the first to buy it. So,
Okay. I'm on it. I like the other day I like wrote 3 pages, but then like that's how writing goes for me. It's like fits and spurts, and then it's
yes,
like I have to like sit with it for a little bit, but it's percolating.
yes, yes. So hopefully this will be a little bit more push to do that. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
not that you don't need a push, but anyway, so thank you so much. This is I love talking to you. I could have you on for another hour, I mean,
So
but
much fun.
I know. So who wants me to have Janine back? Like, tell me in the comments, because I mean, if you do, I mean, I've just got to do what they say, right? So, uh, while we're waiting for that, I'm going to just tell you guys, next week's guest is another great guest, Nellie Harden. She is the host of the 650, 6570 Family Project podcast, and she will be chatting with me about things we can do today to help prepare children for their future. So tune in next week for that special episode. And then also, if you have any other ideas or other guest topics that you want me to talk about in the show, please contact me at Dr. Nerissa at letstalkkidshealth.org. Follow me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and just message me there because I'm always on social media. And then just a quick reminder to those of you, this month's book club, actually March, April, is Resetting Your Child's Brain. By Dr. Victoria Dunkley. She's an integrative psychiatrist, and it's a 4-week plan to, sort of with that tech washout. And she talks about all of these great tips. And I know that this is a topic that has been burning in people's minds. Like, how do we get away from screens sometimes? It's a lot. So please make sure to join us live if you can, because just like today, you can say and comment, ask questions of our guest. So if you've got a burning question around this, please join us April 25th at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the parenting discussion group. That's the only place it will be, not on YouTube. All right. So remember, De-Stress Monday, guys. Remember, go to copingskillsforkids.com. Follow Janine Holloran and share this episode. We're going to be re-airing it on Thursday. So again, if you're like, oh my gosh, somebody else got to watch this, please let them know, for the replay is coming. And awesome talking to you today.
Yes,
Awesome.
awesome talking to you as well. It's so much fun.
All right. Thanks, guys. For those of you still watching, thanks for hanging on. I know it's been a little bit longer than normal, but we just had so much fun today. We'll see you next week, guys. Thanks again.